Another new recipe brought to you by Angel Yeast. Today I'm going to show you another recipe using our Angel Premium Instant Dry Yeast and our A800 Multipurpose Improver. I'm going to show you my favorite orange chocolate bread. You put together, we have milk here, full cream milk or fresh milk, warmed. You warm to about 100 degrees. You can also use water if you don't have milk. Then we have our Eagle Premium Instant Dry Yeast. Alright. And then sugar. Eggs. We have our A800 dough improver, all-purpose flour. You can use bread flour if you want to. And then I have salt. The dough we're making today will be soft. So ideally you use a mixer, but if you mix this by hand, just make sure you don't add too much flour, alright? So we mix this for 10 minutes because we want the liquid to pick up the flour to form the dough. Well, you can see here that the liquid has picked up the flour, so it has formed the dough. Alright, from this point, we're going to mix it for about 6 to 8 minutes. The Angel Premium Instant Dry Yeast saves fermentation time up to 30%. You all know that fermentation time of the dough is closely related to the activity of the yeast. Fermentation time can be shortened by 10 to 30% using the same amount, greatly improving the production efficiency, saving production cost, and showing obvious advantages in direct fermentation and secondary fermentation. The Angel Premium Instant Dry Yeast also has excellent sugar tolerance. In many bakeries, bread is usually made with multiple recipes. Some recipes contain little sugar, some contain a lot of sugar, that's between 3 to 10%. Every time you increase the sugar and the salt, it has a negative influence on the activity of the yeast. Just remember, the higher sugar content, the lower the activity and the longer fermentation time. Therefore, the sugar tolerance is one of the important indexes to evaluate the quality of the yeast, which reflects the tolerance of yeast to sugar. The Angel Premium Instant Dry Yeast also has good tolerance to cold water. People in most places dissolve the instant dry yeast in water before mixing with the flour, and the water may influence activity of the instant dry yeast. Using water at a low temperature like cold water, it will destroy the cell wall of the instant dry yeast and will cause an obvious decline in activity. People in some places use big chunks of ice in the process of mixing, which will make the instant dry yeast dissolve at low temperature and cause the obvious decline of activity, and it prolongs the time of fermentation. Now all of these three problems are solved with the use of the Angel Premium Instant Dry Yeast. So remember, it saves fermentation time by as much as 30%. It has excellent sugar tolerance, and it has good tolerance to cold water. Today, we're also using the A800 Multipurpose Bread Improver. The bread improver can improve the texture of the bread. It makes the bread softer and more delicate. It raises the stability and the expansion performance of the dough and increases the volume of the bread. These bread improvers are manufactured for many types of dough mixing methods and mixing equipments. The bread improver modifies the gluten structure in a dough to produce a matrix so that the minimum amount of gas can be retained and hence assist the expansion or the leavening of the dough. So if you want your dough to stay softer and more stable, I suggest that you use the A800 Multipurpose Bread Improver. After 8 minutes, you will see that the dough is getting smooth. We're going to add in the butter. Since this has a high proportion of butter, we're going to add the butter gradually. Once it's incorporated, then we add the next one. Instead of butter, you can use premium margarine or refrigerated margarine. But of course, you know, butter will give you the best flavor. See, once you see that it binds together, then you add the next butter. Because this recipe is a type of brioche, a lot of eggs and a lot of butter. So you wait until it cleans up the sides of the bowl before you add the next butter. I'm adding about 1 tablespoon at a time. Okay, after you've added all of the butter, you have to mix this for about 4 minutes more or until the dough becomes very elastic. We will do a window pane test, which I will show you. After about, this is only approximate, time is not exact because it depends if you're mixing by hand. It also depends on the type of mixer that you're using. It's just, you know, what you call this, an estimated mixing time. Total mixing time for breads like brioche or enriched bread or sweet dough, it takes about 15 minutes, more or less. Alright, after a total of like 15 minutes, okay, we're going to check the window pane. First, since this is a sticky dough, you put oil on your fingers. Pinch off a small portion. Okay, here, pinch. And slowly stretch this. If you can stretch this without it tearing, see, you can see the, you know, my fingers. Alright, see? It's quite thin. And it is not tearing, so it means you have developed the gluten fully. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to divide this into 2 portions because we're going to add cocoa powder to 1 portion. Alright, so I'm going to divide this into 2. So this one is the white portion. You form it into a ball like this, and then you have a bowl here. You put oil so it won't stick. And then you put the dough here, okay? Down and then up. And then to the remaining dough, we're going to add cocoa powder to make this chocolate. We will mix this for about 2 minutes. The second portion where we add the cocoa powder, you don't have to mix for a long time because there's no gluten to be formed with the cocoa powder. We're just trying to incorporate the color and the flavor of the chocolate. Okay, I think this is done. Yeah. We have the chocolate color now. So we need another bowl. You don't need to check the window pane because we've already done that. Okay, so this one. And then here is another bowl. You put oil and then flip it so that there's oil all around. And then you cover this with cling wrap or plastic, or you can use a damp cloth, or you just cover this with a baking pan. Alright, we'll check this about after 45 minutes. Here is our dough after just 45 minutes. See how fast fermentation was with our Eagle Premium Instant Dry Yeast. So here, okay, we're going to make 4 loaves. I'm going to divide this into 4. We will start with the plain. You know, I've always loved the combination of chocolate and oranges, but you can use any combination. But today I'm going to put this is diced orange peel. This is like glazed fruit but all orange peel. Okay, so I'm gonna put this inside. Then roll this. You can also use glazed fruit if you like glazed fruits. Okay, so one. For the chocolate dough, we put chocolate chips. Of course, you can also put nuts. Okay. You put two pieces together. And this is very easy. You just braid this. Or you can use any just make sure you tuck this in. Okay. Your baking pan should be greased. We can make it this way, and then we can make cuts. You just, alternate. This is just to make it fancy, of course. You don't really need to do this. But I like to teach you different styles every time. Then you try to flatten this, so more or less it's gonna rise about the same, level, but don't expect it, okay? So we will let this rise for about 30 minutes. Normally it takes 45 minutes, but we're using Angel Premium Instant Dry Yeast, so 30 minutes should be good, or until it's double in size. And then we'll apply a light egg wash. Here is our dough. After 35 minutes, it has doubled in size. So we will bake this at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 25 minutes.